randoms keep getting jobs. Don't worry about it. I'm going to say, I can't wait to say it. I love it. I love it. Go. What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the NotBland Show. I'm your host, Dave Bland, and we are back. We're safe and sound. Everything's good here, as good as to be expected, I should say. A lot of work to do. I want to say thank you to those who reached out and checked on us here in Valdosta, and it's greatly appreciated. It was a rough one, but we're here, and we had food. We were prepared and was able to help the community out, and that's what's important. I feel sorry for those who are in the path of Milton, as if we hadn't had enough. Hopefully, somewhere along the line, this thing burps and farts and turns into a little bit less than what we have here on hand at the moment. This is ugly, and I don't like seeing ugly. Of course, we're brought to you by Sports Journey. I'm a little bit out of rhythm here. We're brought to you by Sports Journey and Everything Nitro, and we're sponsored by Drag Race Bracket Bonanza. This past weekend, I had to go in blind. Didn't see anything. Obviously, didn't have any power for a week, so I wasn't able to see anything. So I figured that would help me out a little bit. Seems to be some very interesting things went down at the Worldwide Technology Raceway, and turn things upside down. So if you were a little bit on the outliers on some of these guys, you were a winner, and I was a loser again. So support our sponsor, and this is how you do so.
Drag racing fans, check out Drag Race Bracket Bonanza. It's the free, family-friendly fantasy bracket game. Now, after final qualifying at every national event, you can fill out your bracket for all the pro classes.
It's free, easy to click on your picks. If you need some help, just hit the randomizer button to fill in the blanks. It's for fun, stay engaged, and pick your winners today.
And it's that easy. It's that easy. And without further ado, though, we have the founder and owner of Drag Race Reference. He is our stat guy, your stat guy, everybody's stat guy. It's my man, Dave W. What's going on, baby?
Not much. Glad to see you weathered the storm. Sad there wasn't a show for you last week, but glad we're here at least this week to kind of go halfway through the countdown. And you missed a good one in St. Louis, but we got 3 more to go. We're halfway there, and there's a lot of guys that really saw their chances pretty much end.
Yeah. From the looks of it, as I combed through the results, a lot of people who had an opportunity to kind of put the stake in and put the dagger in did not follow through. One comes to mind in Antron Brown, who I really thought after the road he was on with these wins, the momentum that they had, this was his opportunity to jump up and really separate himself from everyone else. That was not to be found. He got out qualified, by the way. TJ Zizzo again. Okay. Number one. Somebody, if we can't find an extra sponsor somewhere to get this guy out here full time, there's no telling what they can do. All right. Part-time, and he's qualified twice number one this year. I don't know what more the guy has to do to make that happen. But whatever, it's, I don't know. People just use your eyes, people. Use your eyes. I was very shocked at the way the top guys performed. Was this a matter of track conditions, or when it's one of those things when you get behind, you stay behind?
Well, I'm gonna chalk it up to track conditions. And like you said, congrats, shout out to TJ Zizzo, #1 qualifier at both of the Illinois events. And he said if not for a stripped blower belt, he would have been #1 at Indy too. They were on a run. They just didn't get it. So the 3 events he could have been #1 qualifier. St. Louis was an interesting event simply because, again, you lost Friday to the hurricane. You lost Friday to weather. You had 2 shots at it, and that's going to jumble the field. You've got new asphalt this whole second half of the track. They said the track's got the shortest amount of concrete launch pad and fresh green asphalt all the way through. And it was true. You could see they were really hitting it hard. They were really getting the good early numbers, and they were just kind of losing it and just tiptoeing through the top end. Now, was it that bad? Well, I mean, Austin Prock still laid down the 8th quickest funny car run in history and the quickest run since September 2017 in a nitro-burning funny car on an NHRA trail. So the track wasn't all that bad, but it definitely threw a lot of people for a loop, and I think a lot of guys were scared to really get after it, and especially with only 2 shots to qualify, you knew you were going to have a jumbled ladder and some very monster first-round matchups when you've got 2 and 5 into points and 3 and 4 into points in Top Fuel racing each other first round. I mean, that was the way that the matchups laid out, and the stacked funny car side of the ladder when you've got Austin Prock, Jack Beckman / John Force, Bob Tasca, and Matt Hagan and J.R. Todd all on the same side of the ladder. I mean, it's time to make moves. I mean, it was your time to either put up or shut up, and a lot of guys didn't have that opportunity.
Yeah. It's very unfortunate, but when you look at the results in Top Fuel and the standings here, it really shows that at the end of the day, it really kind of opened this thing up to a 5-horse race now. Torrance is only 88 points back. So with the way the 2 top guys have been inconsistent, and I think we talked about this too before in the play as far as the playoffs go, everybody at the top has been inconsistent and has not been able to carry the momentum more than 2 or 3 races. And when they do fall flat on their face, they fall flat on their face. And it's a first round exit, it's a second round exit. And you look at Antron, you look at Justin Ashley, you look at Sean Langdon, Doug Coletta, all of these people have done this several times during the regular season, and we've seen it here in the playoffs. 5-horse race here, and I do believe that if one of these guys have to get hot in the next 3, but I see this coming down to Pomona, actually.
I don't think that there's any way around it coming down to Pomona unless Antron just goes on a tear and everybody else really struggles. Yeah. The magic number as we go to the next 3 races is 82 points. If you are within 82 points, you can control your own destiny by basically sweeping the last 3 races. If you win them, you're low ET of all the sessions. If you're #1 qualifier and the #1 guy in points is #2 in all the sessions, #2 qualifier and runner-up, you can still control your own destiny if you're within 82 points. When Top Fuel, that's only the top 3. So that tells me that Doug Coletta on down, these guys are going to need outside help. You're going to need these guys to falter. You're going to need them to go out in an early round. And the way that the qualifying has been lately, it might even be your opportunity to take that. But, yeah, I mean, Doug Coletta, 2 first-round losses and a semifinal is not going to – that's not going to win a championship in the last 3 races. And you can't do that again. Antron Brown on the strength of 2 wins and then a second-round loss. The mile an hour was down. The parachutes were out. They think something may have tripped the device. That car was not under power, and he still almost beat Tony Schumacher at that point. But when you've got 5th place and 6th place in points, which were 6th and 7th coming into the race, running for the trophy, I mean, that's pretty – Brittany Force, second-round exit, she still gained 5 points on the leader. So, I mean, with qualifying point, I mean, when they say every point matters, and this is the other thing you got to take into consideration. We're not going to see it in Dallas because there is no threat of rain. Dallas is going to be a definite tuners racetrack and drivers track because it's supposed to be in the 90s. We're not getting cool, set the records, Dallas. We're getting, let's see who can get down the track, Dallas. So this is going to be fun. But looking at the way that lays out, where does the advantage go? Who is going to be the one that's going to step up and manage those track conditions? And are you going to get some of these other guys that falter in the early round? I think it plays into a Tony Schumacher, a Clay Millican, a Brittany Force, who we might write them off, but this could be their chance to shine and get back into this picture because they're going to need help for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I like that because I do think this is a thing where you come into a race like this, and we've seen Brittany's car become a little bit more consistent. It's starting to find that mile an hour that we have been used to seeing from that car. And with the way the top guys are kind of floundering around a little bit like a fish out of water, you could end up seeing a first round matchup that one of these guys or three of these guys could go out first round. Antron, Justin, Sean, highly likely if they have to face a Clay, Brittany Force, even Tony Stewart at this point, who's been quite consistent. And we've seen Schumacher take some folks out. So it really can add up to be something wild. And you can't count out Sean Reed and a Selena's car either. You can add Mercer. You can add, Foley's probably not going to be there. So you can add a Trip Tatum who's going to be there to that mix too of being a car that can sneak up and push somebody out early in the first round. So it's going to be difficult here in these next three races. And it's going to take hitting on all cylinders and no mistakes to really kind of seal the deal. But these cars, man, these top five cars they're littered with inconsistency and untimely mistakes.
Now, the other thing to consider too, I don't know what the entry list is looking like for Vegas and Pomona yet, but we do have 19 top fuel cars coming to the Stampede of Speed here at Dallas in this fall nationals. You could, with the track conditions the way that they are, I mean, Friday night is going to be your time to make it. There could be a big name that's on the outside looking in. There could be a countdown.
Yes.
It's not unheard of. I mean, who would have thought going through the U.S. Nationals after all the sessions that they had that the Coletta cars would have been struggling to make the field on the last run? I mean, this is like maximum pressure, not only to make the show, but to get the points. And the hardest thing is you can't just do it for one race. Most of these guys are far enough behind in points. You have to do it consistently over three races, and that's where the struggles come in. That's why I still lean the nod towards Antron, Justin, and Sean. I mean, they're the ones in the catbird seat. If they just keep each other close enough, when we get to points and a half at Pomona, it's going to be a winner-take-all type race. Yeah,
absolute slugfest. You're right, Nicole. Ida's another car that just can't be counted out at all. With her driving, and the car has come out and been quite consistent as well. I mean, it's kind of nerve-wracking for those guys at the top because there really isn't any. There's no easy first round opponents in this thing, and you have to hit it in qualifying, and you also have to go rounds, and there's no buy run. There's no run where you can say, okay, we'll run our average tune-up and we'll get it from A to B and we'll win the race. That's all we got to do. You really can't lay up on any of these cars at all. And that makes it difficult. That makes it difficult. Jack Beckman snagging the win there in Worldwide Technology Raceway. I didn't expect that. I thought this thing would be all proc and it would have been wrapped up, sewed up in a bow after this whole thing. But Jack is making it interesting. We know the car is very much capable of running the numbers. He just needed to find his rhythm as far as a driver's concerned, leaving, on the day. And he was in the ballpark most of the day. I think his highest one was the 075, and that was the final. But he's making it interesting when it's all said and done. But is there a realistic possibility that he can come in and make some noise here and maybe possibly be in the running for John Force to have another title here?
Well, I say I wasn't surprised that he won the race. I mean, I picked him and at 10-1
That's
odds
right,
on the NHRA side of things. Yeah, thank you, Jack Beckman. That was a nice payout. I appreciate that very much. And on the Drag Race Bracket Bonanza side, I had a feeling that would have been a good possibility. The way that it played out, I think that these guys are obviously going to run themselves heads up. It's going to be a JFR 1-2. You never want to play conspiracy theorist or team orders or any of that crap because you know how that can go. But the situation presented itself perfectly, 100% perfectly in St. Louis when you had Bob Tasca and Matt Hagan running first round. Tasca takes out Hagan. You had Tasca going out second round of eliminations, courtesy of Austin Prock with that huge boomer, which is never part of the plan. I mean, that was a heck of an explosion. But then when they came up and they lined up against Beckman in the semis, I'm like, you know what? That was kind of a rush turnaround. That might have played into Beckman's favor because, like you said, Jack hit his stride. They were running consistent numbers. They were getting down to track. And I honestly felt like the edge kind of went Jack's way because of the mid-round strash for the Proc team. His biggest threat was definitely going to be Ron Capps in the final round to me, but they still went right down that right-hand lane. And they put the number up and they got the win. And I mean, I was not surprised to see that, but it also did a pretty good job to solidify a JFR 1-2 into points. And if they keep Jack going around the way that he is, you know, it's a team all for one team championship there. And if you could be 1-2 into points, no matter which team car wins it, I mean, that's the end goal. Kind of like back to the John Force, Tony Pedregon days of the late 90s. We want to be out there and be 1-2. And again, I think it just happened to play out that way thanks to the ladder. But anybody who didn't think Beckman was going to get a win before the end of the season, I mean, you knew it was coming. And it just happened to be St. Louis was the place for it to happen. But I wouldn't count him out from getting another one before the end of the year. Is it going to be enough to catch and pass the Proc Rocket? I don't think so, because you can almost guarantee that Austin Proc is going to put another round on the field just in qualifying points alone. But if they can keep him to be 1-2, I think that's the ultimate end goal. And, you know, sweep the rest of the races and keep all the wins in the JFR team.
Yeah, most definitely. Lonnie, we're going to come back to this in the second half of the show because I do have some thoughts on that. And I'm sure Dave does as well. I'm going to encourage you guys, share this show with a friend. You know what I mean? You know my motto, tell a friend to tell a friend. Come join us over here. It is fun, and it's going to be a fun weekend here as we get into the second half of this playoffs. You know, Bob Tasca, let's throw the 340 out the window for the moment. He's had opportunity after opportunity this year to seize the moment, so to speak, and kind of make himself a part of and a true threat. But they've had moments where they have just made untimely mistakes. And it's hard to keep up when your opponent has been so flawless and really your opponents in the Force car and the Proc Rocket. Is there any shot here that he has a slim chance of making a shot at winning this championship? As you can see, that is an absolute no.
No. When you're 149 or 159 points out of first at this particular point, your championship. I mean, that is the largest gap from first to third in any category by a long shot. And when you consider that Pomona, you know, you only have to be 191 ahead going into Pomona to technically clinch it. Task is closer to be eliminated from the championship than he is getting back into it. And for him to basically overcome this lead, it's just the points aren't out there. They're not going to all of a sudden turn into, I mean, not to say that they can't win, but we're looking at they got to win out the rest of the year, and we got to have Austin Prock and Jack Beckman out first and second round for 3 races in a row is really the only chance of that even being in the consideration. And I don't think that that's going to happen. I mean, and even, Ron Capps, Matt Hagan. I mean, Matt Hagan, that first round loss against Aska, he was so defeated in his interview. He goes, "That's our season," because he knows the same thing. Even if they win it out from here on out, Austin Prock is not going to be a first round loser for 3 races in a row. And I'll take that bet. If they put that on Play NHRA and give me odds on that, I'll take that bet, because he is not going to lose 3 in a row first round. He's going to put a couple more round wins. He's only a couple more round wins from eliminating these guys than anything. So no, I think third on down, you are 100% done.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It really is, but it just shows the level of consistency of that team, that car, and it just really speaks to his driving ability as well. I mean, you can have the tuner, you can have all those things, but if the guy behind the wheel can't do the job, it really is, all that other stuff is all for naught. I kind of liken it to quarterbacks. Like, you can have the best offensive coordinator, the best coach, the best quarterback coach ever, and if he ain't got it between the ears, it just really doesn't matter. So this kid has it between the ears and some, and it's going to be tough for them. Dallas Glenn, again, getting wins. And I want to tell everybody, Dallas didn't stand us up last week. He was busy trying to get ready for the race at Worldwide Technology Raceway, and he lost track of time. He was trying to get the trailer all hooked up, and he lost track of time. We'll get him on here in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, it happens. These guys are, fully focused and trying to get things done, and sometimes things just slip your mind. So, Dallas is in the driver's seat pretty much. The consistency level that they found, here has been, nothing short of amazing, but his job is to continue to go further than Aaron Stanfield. Aaron is still on his butt, 31 points back. I do think this is a 2-horse race. I hate to say that, but I don't think Erica Enders stands a chance. I think the 2 men ahead of her are just uber consistent, and they would have to fall on their face, and she would have to win here in Dallas to be talked about in that. Now, could that happen? Absolutely. But these 2 guys haven't shown that they are first-round losers here yet.
No, they haven't. I agree. I mean, it's kind of interesting. I was looking back through the records, and what I came up with unofficially, because I haven't checked every single one, but what I've come up with so far is it is the first time in over 30 years that you had 3 national events in a row that the same 4 drivers made the semifinal round at all 3 races in a row. You had them back to back in 2016, where we had 2 in a row, but 3 in a row. I mean, it is definitely the big 4: Dallas and Aaron, Erica and Greg. And for Erica and Greg, unless they're in the final round here at Dallas, and that means that Dallas Glenn and Aaron Stanfield are out in the semis or sooner, it just takes a repeat of that, and they're officially, I would say, put a nail in their coffin, because I don't see Dallas and Aaron going out first round. But these guys are definitely flirting with that red light with the tree, and that could bite one or both of them before the end of the season. You heard it here first, because they play that razor-thin game right on the starting line, and it only takes a couple thousandths the other way to really hurt your position in the point standings. But it is definitely a 2-horse race. But hey, you know what? Stranger things have happened. Erica's got good success at Vegas. She's had good success at the Texas Motorplex. She goes out there and wins these next 2 events. And even if you've got Dallas Glenn or Aaron Stanfield as a runner-up, she goes into Pomona with a 50-point gap. I mean, that's a couple rounds with points and a half. She could put herself right in this mix. It's going to come down to qualifying points, the little points in between. All the session points really matter in these classes more than anything. And it's also going to matter on that starting line, because this class is so close. You have your best chance of somebody taking out one of the big 4 with their left foot than their performance.
Yeah. This is this is going to be interesting for the top four. You know, Erica is a 6-time champ for a reason, can't be counted out. And like you said, you get a couple wins here, and this is a place that's been pretty good to her. You could really start to see this thing tighten up and it be a slugfest in Pomona. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. I think this is Dallas's to lose. Aaron Stanfield is something, though. And like you said, red lights are the equalizer. And as good as these guys are, as close as you are, sometimes, man, that car moves a little bit faster than it did the last time and breaks the beam a little early. That could be the difference maker in this class coming down to the championship.
Well, and that just goes to show, I mean, that's just a true testament to how difficult this category is. When you have 16 cars qualified within 800ths of each other, that or less in some cases, that you could make up on the starting line, you guys are all on the razor's edge of being on the receiving end of a red light and on the razor's edge of going out there and just shaking the tires and having to abort the run. I mean, you got all those things stacked against you, so it makes it even more impressive for the drivers that can go out like Dallas, Aaron, Erica, and Greg and continuously win out when the pressure is on, the countdown's on, the points matter. Does any of them fold under the pressure is going to be what it's going to be interesting to see. Does somebody miss the setup? Does somebody miss the tree? But Dallas has had the best car consistently over the season. Aaron has been hot as of late. And I mean, even if you eliminate the countdown, the championship battle between those two drivers in this stretch run is still just as epic and just as close into points. Dallas, we talked about, I mean, he was way out there, but Aaron has really come on hot as of late. So, I mean, it's awesome seeing the next generation, if you will, of Pro Stock battling it out for this championship.
It is. It's really nice. It's a breath of fresh air. Real quick before we get to our halfway point, the Pro Stock motorcycle class, it's Gage, it's Matt Smith, it's Richard Gatson. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm just going to say that Richard has found something. If he can begin to leave on those other two guys, he might be your champion at the end of the day. That's a bold prediction right here. I really do. I think those bikes now are kind of even. It's just a matter of him being consistent in his riding style and making sure that is like a well-oiled machine. And if he can do that same thing every time, like a free throw, I think we've seen Matt is his own worst enemy. So, and we've just seen, I don't know what happens. Sometimes they're in the ballpark and then sometimes they're way off in left field as of late with Gage. So with all these things going on, the one who has really kind of found a stride is Richard, so I'm interested to see how it all plays out, but it's cool to see it being a 3-horse race. But I'm gonna go out on a limb. I think this is a time where Richard can step up and snatch a championship from both of those guys.
You think they get too focused on each other and kind of lose sight on some of the other things that are going on? Because we've seen some mistakes out of those guys. We've seen some bad lights. We've seen some bike parts breakage. We've seen a lot of things that we didn't think we would see. I mean, honestly, who would have thought that halfway in Richard would have been this close? We thought it was going to be a 2-bike runaway, and it has been anything but.
Yeah, these two guys, it's nothing. It's too much between the two of them. You got Andrew now firing back with little shots. I think Gage is a little tired of it too. But that whole thing has encompassed both of these drivers, and Richard has just kind of stayed out of it. He's said his piece, and he said it a while ago, and he's just left it alone. And you're seeing the up and down with both of these teams. And I just think he's Lolo, him and Eddie are just out there running the race, just tuning it and going, and these little mistakes are going to make a difference. He might get himself a championship while these two guys trip.
Speaking of Eddie, wasn't he one of the riders who won a championship without ever winning a race?
Yeah. Yes, he was.
Maybe that might happen again. Might just sneak in and take it away from the guys who think they got it all cinched up.
Yep. Step up to the plate and just take it.
There you go.
I'm all for it. When we come back off of this break, we're going to talk about Dallas. We're going to give you the car counts and talk about what we're going to see here coming up in a race that it can be fun and it can be fast. And we hope that it's both of those right after this word from our sponsor.
Drag racing fans, check out Drag Race Bracket Bonanza. It's the free, family-friendly fantasy bracket game. Now, after final qualifying at every national event, you can fill out your bracket for all the pro classes.
It's free, easy to click on your picks. If you need some help, just hit the randomizer button to fill in the blanks. It's for fun, stay engaged, and pick your winners today.
And this one's going to be interesting as far as Drag Race Bracket Bonanza goes. This track is normally fast, and with the great weather, we should see some really good qualifying here. This is the time where teams can steal a few points here, kind of make things a little bit uncomfortable for their opponents. And when I look back at this whole Top Fuel thing, it's very it's cool to look at because there's so many great tuners. And then you add on to this, there's 19 in every category. Pro Stock is 19, Funny Car 19, Top Fuel 19. That means if you miss on Friday, if you miss in the hero session, you could be behind the 8 ball. And if you're behind the 8 ball, usually guys start pressing a little bit. Or they feel like they have to go light on the tune-up because they just want to get in. Well, if the number's a little high, then that's going to be a little bit difficult to do, which means somebody might miss. And we've seen it. 15 bikes. I believe Kelly had a broken axle last week, and that may still be the reason why that they're not here. I think I did not see her on the list. Not going to speculate because I didn't talk to her, but I know they had a broken axle last week, so probably not willing to make that trip from Maryland to Dallas. That's quite the haul at the moment. And with the conditions across the country are trying to get there, it probably makes it a little bit more difficult for them coming from Maryland. But looking at this Top Fuel, class and the people we have in the running, somebody's going to put up a number. I think that somebody is going to be Clay.
Okay. Be interesting.
He's done it.
That would be interesting.
This is a very good track. They've been able to do it a couple times here when the conditions have presented itself. I feel like Jimmo's got that tune-up when these conditions are pristine. They have been able to put it together. This might be a time. This is a time right now, and I'm going to go to that. This is a time right now that Brittany Force and Grubby better put up some type of number because, let's be real. He's on the hot seat. His butt cheeks are hot. So that's just telling it like it is. His butt cheeks are hot. What's going on, Andrew? Yeah, anybody with Justin Ashley? I don't see it. I'm just gonna tell you right now. I don't see it at the moment. I just don't. Level of consistency is just not there. So I like what those are the guys that I think that can do that. And Antron's the outlier. Justin hasn't shown that he can put something together like that. Just saying. But these little points are going to mean something here in Dallas.
Oh yeah, 100%. And just to preview Dallas, our buddy, Drag Race Bracket Bonanza, Elon Warner, does PR for the Texas Motorplex. He actually reached out. He said, you know what, if you ever want to come down, let me know. So I reached out to him, and I'm going to the Texas Motorplex this weekend. I've never been to the Texas Motorplex, but I am flying out Thursday night. I will be there for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday and enjoying all of this in person. However, I will say I just looked at the updated weather because I was just curious. I knew it was going to be hot. So if you go to AccuWeather for Ennis, Texas, Friday's high, 96. Possible danger of dehydration and heat stroke while doing strenuous activities. Saturday's high, 97. Sunday's high, 100. 100 degrees on Sunday race day. That racetrack is going to be as hot and sticky. It is going to be a mess of a Dallas event. We might see a Dallas of old in the 90s where you see them blown motors, smoke fest. It's going to be a tuner's race. It's going to be a driver's race. And like you said, 69 is the low on 60 degrees is the low on Friday. So that Friday evening session, you better come with both guns blazing because you're going to be in trouble on Saturday because you are not going to qualify on Saturday on a 97-degree race or ambient temperature and 120 plus degree racetrack. Is just not going to happen. So this is going to be one epic show. I agree wholeheartedly there.
And that tells me right there, ladies and gentlemen, just based on temperatures, you can go ahead right now. Justin Ashley, done. Not winning the race. I'm calling it right now. Hasn't shown it. Sean Langdon, that man has struggled when these tracks are extremely hot like this. Might as well go and stick a fork. He done. Doug Coletta. Yep. Old AJ got a case of the yips. He done. There's no way. There's no way. Steve Torrance. Guess what, guys? That's done.
Really? You think Torrance would be done? You don't think? I mean, I'm sure they got something in their logbook from all this. I mean,
you think, but have they shown it this season?
No, but all right,
these type of conditions.
So look at, but where do you go to? I mean, look at how hot Virginia was, and that was a Doug Coletta, Sean Langdon final.
This is a Ida. This is a Ida, Tony. I give Billy Torrance a little bit of a nod, and Antron I'll throw in there.
So you think that the weather's going to be the equalizer, and the bottom half is going to rise up?
I think so. You might even see a Sean Reed somewhere down there. And I believe Ida's on the list too, so you can count her in.
Oh, she is. I mean, think, this list is interesting. I mean, you got guys like Spencer Hyde, Kevin Kinsley, Krista Baldwin, Cam Foray, Scott Palmer's on the list. I mean, when you got those guys in there, any of them got shots at qualifying.
Yeah. Scott's dangerous.
Yeah, I'm looking at Friday and Saturday as the big days because there could very well be a countdown driver on the outside looking in.
Oh, I think there is. I really do. I think there's more than. I think there could be a possibility of more than one, and I think it could be somebody in somewhere in the middle of the pack between 4 and 6, because Tony has been up and down. This seems to play in his favor though, because they're not making that much horsepower consistently. This might play into his favor. Also, might play into his favor to be able to win this race. Because he's one of the best peddlers out there,
right? And
he's done it this season before. But I think this hurts guys like Ashley, Langdon. I don't think this is a race for Torrance either. I think this is a very, very sketchy territory for these cars, especially when you're talking about the temperatures that are possible on Sunday. Right. I'll look into funny car as well. It hurts. This hurts Bob. This hurts Caps. This hurts Hagen. Got people like Wilkerson, Green, Alexander, Todd. And you'll keep Proc because Proc hasn't shown anything that he would have any issues in this type of weather. But those cars, the cars you're going to watch, as far as having an opportunity to unseat some of these higher seated drivers here. I think
right.
those guys going to have a little bit of an issue.
Well, and in that vein, we've got Paul Lee coming back to the action in Funny Car. You know, they could be hit or miss, but you give the weather to them. I mean, they could get that thing down the track. They're not shy about making that thing run in qualifying. You've got Terry Haddock coming back out. Dale Creasy Jr., Chris King is going to be there. The Surfer, Jeff Deal is going to be there. Bobby Bodie is going to be there. I mean, we're talking about guys that can make themselves into the field, put themselves into the field and go rounds in this type of conditions. Play NHRA odds are going to be all over the place from this race. And your drag race bracket bonanza, you might as well just hit the randomizer button, because I think this is going to be a wide open race day in the nitro categories.
Yep, I think this is going to be wild. I don't see this. I don't see this playing out status quo at all. And I see some unsung team that you didn't see being in the final. I think you probably see two of those. I don't, outside of, there's a possibility. The only possibility I see, and we've seen it a little bit, that Proc gets passed in the lights because they're wisping the tires, and the more, may not be the biggest tune-up, but it's going A to B and it's hooked, will hit them in the lights. That's what I think. There's a possibility, but you might as well just go on and write off Tasca, Caps, Hagan. I don't see it at all. These conditions have been basically a death sentence for them. And the guys who have really risen up in those occasions have been guys like J.R. Todd, Blake Alexander. This plays in their favor. Paul Lee plays into their favor. Chad Green, this plays into their favor. I think this is a prime real estate for some new winners and not your normal winners.
And you don't think that Paul Lee's got a chip on his shoulder coming into this race, do you? Especially after the way that countdown played out. You don't think he wants to go out there and just play spoiler and go, hey, you know what? You guys, you made the participation trophy, but here I am out there taking the regular trophy. It sucks what happened to him first round at Indy, but he did win the call out on that very hot and sticky Sunday at the United States Nationals. So again, can't count him out. Was the runner up at Seattle? I mean, that was kind of a little bit of a chaotic race. Norwalk was kind of a hot race. You had Tasca and Caps in the final. I think Tasca can probably maybe luck his way into the later rounds.
Maybe.
I think that he can. I think that the problem that he has on some of the good weather tracks is when they go a little over center, he's got no chance. Here, if they go a little over center, he can pedal it a couple times and on his driving ability kind of keep up with the other guy. But Buddy Hull, time to go rounds. I'm looking at you, man, in that brand new sponsor that they're bringing out this event. That's a beautiful funny car for Buddy Hull this weekend. And I'm looking at that thing to go some rounds on Sunday.
Yeah, it's time. They're going to have to do something here.
Beautiful.
They got to come out and they've got to make this thing happen. This is their type of a race. This is a 4-0s type race. I do agree with you here, Drag Race Mayhem. This smells a lot like, Virginia in so many ways with these conditions that we have the possibility, or really it's kind of written in stone. That's what we're going to see here. Nicole says, which cars do you think accelerate on hot tracks? Or I think excel.
You probably meant excel, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think I do think I think it's J.R. Todd. This is something these type of tracks have played into their favor a lot. I also think you look at Blake Alexander and you look at Jim Head. This is in his wheelhouse. This is where they really outshine everyone else in that regard. When you look at Top Fuel, I think Clay is one of those that kind of shines in this realm of slick tracks. Tony Stewart, I think this is a track that plays into his favor as well. A Sean Reed, they seem to be pretty consistent in that. I think this is a track, honestly, that kind of comes to Josh Hart. Right now, the great tracks aren't really serving him well. I think a hot racetrack could really bring things into a little bit more of a focus for them and really give them an opportunity to go some rounds. And this is a track, if you're looking at Pro Stock Motorcycle, I think this is a track where Richard Gadsden could steal one. This is also a track where Hector could mess up things a little bit. Him and Chase Van Sant could find themselves messing up things a little bit for the top three guys. But I do see this is a track where this could be helpful. Pro Stock, I look at people like, Eric Latino. I'll even throw in Justin Tucker and Corey Reed as well. I don't know. I think they're on the list here. This type of stuff plays into those guys' hands. Even a Matt Hartford, who great racetracks aren't really doing him any justice. This could be something that could really play into his wheelhouse, bring things back to him a little bit, and he might be able to steal one.
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible, and it's going to be a tuner and a driver's race, and I think that this one, if the weather predictions hold true and what they say that they're going to be, and it's just bright sunshine and just baking the track all day long, and the track doesn't, I mean, we hope that we don't have any massive oil downs that ruin it. We have to rescrape and, big delays throughout the thing, but it's a tuner and a driver's race. And somebody had mentioned Jack Beckman in the comments. He's another one as you were going through the funny car list of who excels in the hot weather. Let's don't forget when Joliet was as hot as it was. John Force was in the final round. They got that car down the track. They were doing well at Virginia before the unfortunate incident happened. They were runner-up, or they won Epping over Austin Prock. So a 408 to a 409 at that hot weather track. So the peak antifreeze team, and Beckman's a pedaler. If he's got to pedal that car, he didn't forget how to drive these things. So I would throw him in the hat. He could be another one that maybe this is where he gets a step closer to Prock. I don't think he passes them, but it could give him a chance, and this could be a wild card race for a lot of categories.
Yeah, I really do think this is where conditions matter and make a big difference. It's going to help some people out. It's going to keep points a little bit closer. Is this a race that plays into Erica Ender's hands? Slick racetrack. We've seen this several times this year where guys like Greg and others have missed the tune-up and shook the tire right off the hit and had to get out of it. Is this somewhere where she sneaks up and kind of takes one from everyone and then starts making a case for her getting a 7th championship here?
Well, and of all of the drivers that have shaken the tires and shut off early, I have seen Erica save more runs this year than anybody else. They may not have been the quickest. They're off by a couple hundredths or at a 10th in some cases, but when that car chatters the tires and darts out of the groove, she has got a knack for just grabbing another gear, pedaling the thing, getting it back in the groove, steering it back. It's not winning the round, but it's there. If something else happens in the other lane, she's there to take it. And when you run into a situation where, no, we don't see Pedal Fest and Pro Stock very often, but that don't mean we can't. And this would be the weekend where, you might see some 7 or 8 second times go rounds.
Yeah. This is going to be wild. Usually you don't see temperatures this hot here in Dallas at this time of year.
I blame the hurricane.
Are a little wonky. Yep, things are a little wonky right now. This is going to throw. I don't know if a lot of these teams have data on temperatures being this high at Dallas. I don't think there's a lot of teams that have a lot of data on this. So that's going to make it another issue because I don't think this has happened in quite some time. And this makes Friday's session so much more important. And as we've seen all year, when Friday's session has been extremely important, we have not seen the numbers that we have expected in those said sessions.
No.
Most of the time, guys and gals are getting out there to 60 feet, 100-foot, shake, and it's a coast fest. So this is not the time to shake and coast on a Friday night, because it's going to be a dogfight on Saturday to get yourself in a decent position that hopefully you're not in the bottom half of the field because you missed on the hero session. This hero session is going to be extremely important.
Well, and the biggest thing is it's going to really dictate if some of the bigger teams struggle, but not enough to DNQ, but they're in the bottom half of the field, you're going to have some monster points implication matchups, first round of eliminations. I think in all the categories, to be honest with you, except for Pro Stock Motorcycle. Whoever gets to be number one, that is going to be the hottest contested position, is to be the number one qualifier, because you're getting the bonus round into round two. You're getting a free shot at the track Sunday morning. But I am much more appreciative of the drivers and the teams turning out, and we're not giving 14 car ladders, 15 car ladders, where we're giving buy runs in the first and second round. These drivers are going to have to earn it all day long.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just a matter of getting more bikes out there. I think now, I think we'll maybe with a few more changes, I think we'll see some more bikes come back next year. With the way things have kind of played out, especially after the Western Swing and, other changes in this midseason, I just think people are just not showing out. It's a little bit tough when you're not a team that has the ability to test, to have to take on these pounds and then have to go out here and try to execute and be competitive. So it makes it difficult. That's why I'm not a fan of mid-season changes. No matter how much anybody is belly aching over it, it should be an end of the season move. Yes, Lonnie, concrete does become greasy because the rubber on that concrete, it's a little bit different than marrying it to asphalt. It becomes a little bit, I would say, like Jello in a way that it's just a greasy, it still has stick, but it's just a gummy type mess on concrete. And it takes a little bit more to keep that adhered. That means you're going to have some ball spots because of the Pro Stock cars and how hard they leave. You're going to have some ball spots on that starting line, no matter how many cars go down it, just because of the simple fact of the heat and how hot that racetrack's going to be. So it's definitely, no matter whether it's asphalt or concrete, I think concrete is worse in the heat than asphalt, but heat is heat, and too much heat is bad.
It's going to be a tricky track no matter what. The only advantage you have over the concrete is you don't have the oils coming up through the asphalt like you normally would, and then creating that extra little bit of that extra layer, that extra combatant of the VHT. But I mean, NHRA they're going to do their best. That they're going to be out there and they're going to be scraping it and they're going to be dragging it and they're going to be spraying it and they're going to do the best they can to make it the best prepared track that it can be. But again, that's where, the oil downs and everything else, they're supposed to be easier to clean up on these particular type surfaces. But if you get rear end grease out there, you get somebody that lets the trans loose into sportsman categories.
It's going to be a mess.
This could be a pretty messy, and I don't want to see it turn into a one-lane track. I mean, I hope nothing like that happens, but those are the variables that are out there too, that the teams are going to have to contend with. Lane choice could be all the factors in the world when this race day's over with too.
Yeah, most definitely. And before we get out of here, I want to get back to this question here. Our crew chief's job's on the line with 2 races to go, much less in Pomona. I'll let you go first.
I don't think so. I don't think that they're really I mean, the talent pool that's out there right now, if your job is on the line, you're just going to get picked up by another team. You might see some swaps in the offseason. You might see a crew chief leave from here and go there and maybe think that they're going to take their tune up to a different car and and get that going. But I don't think you're going to see any big names that just go home and they don't come back anymore. You might be some surprising team swaps, but I don't think I don't think that that's going to be the case as much as we think that it is,
right?
Or that it could be.
I don't. That's what I'll say. I don't think there are some people's seats. There are some people's butt cheeks that are hot. There's no doubt about it. But in one case, you can't fire somebody you're partners with. So that's not happening. Hopefully they can find some type of brain trust to kind of help them out a little bit and get them back on the right track. I just think, sometimes you get off so far off track, you just have to go back to square one. Thought that was going to happen earlier in the season. It just seems to never materialize. With Grubby, I think it would be more of a swap of brain trust. I don't think he goes anywhere. Because at the end of the day, yes, there are people that are out there that are on teams just waiting for their opportunity. But when it comes down to John Force Racing, usually those guys are in a car chief where they're actually making.
You muted yourself, or your microphone came out, one of the two.
There we go. Microphone did something weird. Yeah, you usually see them with part of a brain trust where they're a car chief of some sort and they're making calls on the car before they go into a crew chief role. There's a lot of young people out there that are ready to be crew chiefs for sure. That is definitely stated. If you watch the show with Brian Karate, he kind of made that kind of clear. But I don't think you're going to see any crew chiefs go home and not come back. You know what I mean? There's going to be some swapping and it's going to be a silly season now. There's no doubt about it. I'm not going to make any wild predictions, but it's not even going to be a crew chief. I think there's going to be some changes as far as drivers too. And I think somebody's going home for a while.
Any hints on this? This is some pretty interesting revelations here.
I just think somebody's going home for a while. I think, with this new rule, with the ladies being able to start families, whatever the case may be, I just think that certain people want a little bit of a break, and they're going to take that break and they're going to use that. And I think they still have every ability and every ounce in them that they want to continue. But I think they will use this rule to help them be able to do something that they want to do. So we'll see. But I really do believe that because I believe that there are a few other ladies that have been in this thing that do want to have families, that don't want to have to hang them up. You know what I mean? And now they don't have to hang them up. So we'll see. But I like it because now, again, we protect the driver, we protect the athlete from him or herself, and as far as the rule with force. And now this is a little bit of a lightening of stresses for the ladies. And I'm 100% sure this is stressful. That is a stressful decision to make. What Leah had to do was not an easy call. As much as she wants to start a family, that wasn't an easy call because the girl wants to drive and it's in her. It's all about drag racing, and to have to step away a little bit, that wasn't an easy move to make for her. As much as she wants to have a family, that desire to drive is still the same as much as she wants to have a family. So this is a great rule. It takes a lot of pressure off of those ladies. and knowing that they have the ability to come back. So I think we see some people take advantage of that rule as it comes forward there. Let's see. Is the Leslie David Baker from The Office on the left? That's a good one. I like that. That's a good one. That's a good one. Nicole says, rumor is that there will be several new full-time cars next year. Need the crew chiefs. Absolutely. And those crew chiefs are there. You know what I mean? Those crew chiefs are there. They're sitting on other people's teams. I like, and the thing I like about these cars coming out, see, back before you had, and we're running over, but we're going to keep going for a little bit. Back before, and I'll say probably 5, 10, maybe 5 years ago, maybe even 7 years ago, the NHRA was in the cycle that the NFL was in, afraid to give new young people an opportunity to lead. And you saw a recycling of head coaches, so to speak, in the NHRA. And some of these guys, be honest, didn't deserve to be recycled. They were all used up. The time had passed them by. And there's nothing wrong with saying that, but sometimes the time passes you by. And there was a lot of recycling of heads going on. And now you're starting to see a process where you're seeing a lot of young people. And it takes wanting to get involved too. And like Brian Karate said, it's not something like me or you can go and say, hey, I want to learn how to be a tuner tomorrow, and I want to start doing that and working towards that. These guys have been working on these teams and been around this stuff. So they've seen it. They've seen the greats do it. And they are basically shadowing them day to day and getting every ounce, nuance, every little idea, every little piece of experience to move forward. That's why I say I believe Ryan Elliott is a next leader, a next head tuner. Yeah, you can give Rob Wendland a lot of credit for what's going on over there, but a lot of that doesn't happen if he doesn't have Ryan Elliott. He's a big part of what's going on over there with Sean Reed. There are people out there that a lot of us do not know about that have every ability to be able to tune. And these cars, these new people, these new cars that will be showing up, I'm really looking forward to seeing Julie Natus run. Hopefully that will be a full season. But these cars are now coming into, with prepared teams that aren't completely 100% new. They have great leadership is the most important part. And then you have young tuners that have really been in the game and have been studying and have been the understudies of a lot of these great tuners that are getting up in age. Good thing about these guys, they're still around the sport, and that makes a difference as well as how your longevity. I think these young tuners are going to give these new drivers cars that are competitive right out of the gate. There's no more, we got a year to, figure stuff out. No, these teams are coming prepared. Even if you've got a bunch of new guys working on a car, your leadership is still very experienced, and not only experienced, but experienced enough to be able to teach those guys and girls to be able to work like a well-oiled machine and be polished within a few races. So, yeah, mistakes happen. They happen with the best of them. But I think the sport is in a great spot with talent when it comes down to the behind-the-scenes stuff, the tuning, the working on the cars, the leading of men and women, and being able to turn around a car and do it efficiently. These drivers aren't coming into green teams that they don't know whether they're going to go out there and the thing's going to start up, or is it going to break something on the starting line on a burnout? Am I going to, light it up halfway? they can have the confidence that as long as I do my job, the car should go A to B, no problem. And that's a great place for our sport. And it's a great place for these new up and coming drivers to be able to come in and be able to compete for a championship right out of the gate. Says, how many young aspiring crew chiefs out there, and is a team willing to risk hiring them? There are a good handful. I'm sure, I know that there's at least 5, and I'm sure there's more. And there's at least 5.
The 5 that you are speaking of, what are their current positions? Are they an assistant crew chief? Are they a car chief? Are they a bottom end guy,
car
a
chiefs?
Guy? Are they, what roles are they in that they're looking to step up?
There are various. They come from various. They can be. They could be car chiefs. They can be. Clutch guys, bottom end guys. But these individuals are also making it known and taking that step, and have been taking that step for a long time. I don't think you can come from anywhere to be able to do that. And you're right. Yes, the John Schaefer hire. He was young. And like I said, in a couple of years, the Proc boy, y'all don't realize how many calls that he makes on that car. They do not realize.
Well, I mean, this is a situation where time waits for nobody. And I mean, all the greats have been there and come and gone. I mean, some of them are no longer with us. Dick LaHaye, Dale Armstrong, Tim Richards. Obviously his last race, they were all done. Lee Beard, he still comes out there and consults every now and again, but as a full-time guy, you got guys that just age out. To me, I think that's why, like you mentioned, Thomas Proc stepping up, but the fact that Jimmy has been in this so long in both Top Fuel and Funny Car, stayed relevant, and is still winning races and championships over the last 30 years. That's still pretty impressive. But again, there's going to get to a point where he wants to hang it up just like Austin Coyle did, just like Bernie Federley, just like all these guys that you remember from the 70s, 80s, and 90s that tuned cars, even the early 2000s, that are kind of like, hey, you know what? Time doesn't wait for anybody. I don't want to do the grueling schedule anymore. I've taught all these people, the best of my abilities. How long is Alan Johnson going to stay out here doing this? How long is some of these other guys? I know Brian Karate, when you had him on, he's like, I'm not ready to give it up just yet. But there are some guys that maybe they only got a couple seasons left. David Grubnick, is he on the hot seat? Yes, no, maybe. And the John Force team, but let's don't forget, he's been out there tuning and driving since the 90s as well. So, these guys have been out here, and they've made a career and a life out of it. And at some point, they got to go, you know what? It's time to ride off into sunset and then do what I want to do for a change. So it's going to be – it's kind of like the driver situation like you see in NASCAR. You go watch a NASCAR race from 10, 12 years ago and one from now, and the driver turnover is just astounding. You're like, I don't even know who these people are anymore.
Right.
It comes along every so often. You're going to get the big turnover. And I think maybe within the next 5 years, you get these new blood crew chiefs out here getting a shot at it and making things interesting too.
Yeah, I do. And we all know John Force Racing they got bullets upon bullets just hidden. Like, they got so many people on these teams that are very well capable of stepping in and making calls. They constantly are grooming people. That's one organization that, outside of the Schumacher, Don Schumacher deal, that has just continued to they have been able to promote from within a lot. And there are people that have gone and they may have gone away for a little bit, but they come back and they just keep the stuff loaded. The clip is always loaded for them, from car chiefs to assistants to crew chiefs. And I think Thomas is the next guy in line to be calling the shots, because there's a lot of shots that he's called on this race car, and they're home runs. So
they're one of the few teams that believe that part of today's success is building tomorrow's success.
Yes.
They are. I mean, and you can look all the way back through the 90s when Robert Height, Eric Medlin were crew guys before they were drivers. You know, they worked their way up. Austin Prock working his way up. I mean, a lot of these guys that stepped into the car from that role. So, and all the big names that have tuned those cars over the years. So they're one team that seems to understand, hey, you know what? We win as a team, we lose as a team. And if we can teach these guys within, we've got a good solid footing on the future.
Yeah.
Horse is very big on that. And he says such as interviews, not only on his driving side, but his tuning side.
Yeah. Yeah. That's been the key. That's what's made that organization great from top to bottom. I mean, you can even throw in their PR side and the things that they do over there with the people that they have. They just seem to, someone leaves and there's someone right behind it to keep things running at a high level. You know what I mean? There's no drop off. So they should be commended for that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, of this show, we thank you guys for tuning in, and I tell you, man, it's great to be back. A little rusty, but it's great to be back. Football season is in. We'll be doing a little bit of that here. I'm going to try to do that this week before the Thursday night football game. Just so much stuff going on here as far as cleanup and getting people back to normal. Hopefully sooner than later. It's kind of clogged up the schedule a little bit. To everyone who is in the path of this thing of Milton, look, man, we're praying for you and we're thinking about you guys. 75 is loaded. I went to the gas station. I had to go up 75 just to come back to my house because I couldn't go the other way because traffic was backed up. I'm just glad people are getting out of the way and taking it seriously. So, man, I hope this thing falls apart at some point. It's going to be a fun weekend, man. Hot. But we're going to love it, and we're going to watch it. 3 more races to go, and Dallas is next. So, the Stampede of Speed, and Dallas always puts on a show. So tune in, enjoy it, and we'll be back next week to talk about it for sure. For myself, for Dave W., for the NotBland Show and Sports Journey, we thank you. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Like and subscribe. Our subscribers has gone up. It even went up when I wasn't even on the air last week. Thank you for that. And, man, we'll get back at you again. I'm looking forward to talking about some Robert Saleh being fired. That was a joke and a half. But we'll see you on Thursday, all right? Good night, everybody.